Welcome to the Authorpreneur podcast, where we talk to authors and business owners about how they are using books to market themselves and their businesses. I'm your host, Chris Green, and in each episode of the Authorpreneur podcast, we talk to a successful author and business owner to see exactly how they are using their books and author status to grow their businesses and serve their customers. We'll talk about what's working, the benefits of becoming a published author, and we may even come up with some creative new marketing strategies. In this episode of the Authorpreneur podcast, I talk with Giovanni Dienstmann, the author of Mindful Self-Discipline, Practical Meditation, and his newest book, Wise Confidence. Giovanni is a self-discipline coach, meditation teacher, and author who focuses on the intersection between wisdom, peace, and power. He has helped executives, entrepreneurs, artists, musicians, and pro athletes to live a more focused and purposeful life. Since 2014, he has been helping people to overcome distractions, procrastination, fear, anxiety, and self-doubt. As a meditation teacher, Giovanni runs one of the most visited meditation blogs on the web, liveanddare.com. With over 12,000 hours of personal meditation practice and diverse training in meditation methodologies from different traditions, Giovanni brings a practical and unique approach to help both meditation novices and advanced practitioners. In this episode, Giovanni and I discuss using books as part of a business, traditional versus self-publishing, impostor syndrome, and even the fear of change. If you're interested in learning more about how meditation, mindfulness, and how Giovanni uses his books as integral parts of his business, then you're really going to enjoy this episode. You have your own business where you're selling books, you're selling courses, you're doing like consultations, you're speaking and all these things. But then you've got like the books. And as someone who promotes the idea of entrepreneurship, would you say that your books, like where would you put your books as a kind of catalyst or like an engine within your business? Is it kind of one of the things that you use to, get, raise awareness for what you're doing or to acquire leads and customers?
Right. So writing is what I really love to do. I would love to, if I could make a living just selling books, I would do that. But when I'm writing a book, I'm not writing a book thinking this is going to be a lead generator to one of my products. I'm writing a book that I feel is inside of me and wants to come out and that is going to be helpful and transformational for people. So that's the intention when I'm writing the books. Now, what happens is that people read the books and then they want something else. They want help implementing the concepts of the books. And that's where they come to me either for one of my coaching programs or they want to be a member of the app. So the app is where I take people to, they can pay a membership fee and they get access to the exercises, the mini courses and the tools that will help them implement the concepts of the book.
So in your perfect world, you would love for people to just buy the book, get everything that they need, and go on their way. But I think you're kind of finding that there's that, I would guess it's maybe like an 80-20 thing. 20% of the people are like, I love your book. I need more, right? And if you don't have something for them to get more, they're going to try and get more from somewhere else. And I think it's a great example of one of the reasons Nick wrote his book, Rise of the Reader, is to help people implement the book. So I almost wish you and Nick would have like a combo offer of your book plus Nick's book to say, look, you don't need anything else. Look, I've got courses. If you need them, they're over here. But read Nick's book and you might be able to just implement everything that you need to get the value from what I'm trying to teach. Because I think I would guess you're similar to a lot of authors who they write about stuff that they care about, stuff that they're interested in, stuff that they find interesting, stuff that they want to share with everybody else because they find it interesting. And if there was ways to get people to actually implement it, that would be kind of like the golden key, right? Like, perfect, just read the book. But thankfully we have the internet, so we can make things like video courses and again, things that you don't have to actively be involved in, which is one of the benefits of writing a book and selling it to somebody. Yeah, so I like the way that you've put those things together.
When I write my books, I think my intention of writing the Mindful Self-Discipline book, for example, is I felt like, can I fire myself as a coach? Can I put everything that I know in a book so that people don't need to come for coaching? And I did my best as what's possible to put in the form of a written word, but still people are going to need that extra hand holding, the accountability, helping someone holding them space so they can figure out what does it mean. Like you talk about 50 different techniques in the book. Which one should I focus on? What order should I apply these? And then again, there are tools and that they are audio, like the guided meditations, for example. Like I can put the script in the book, and in some cases I have, But at the end of the day, it's very different from just putting in, pressing play, and following along. So there's that.
Yeah, as someone who's published a lot of books myself, I kind of have the same mindset as you, I think, where I would love I'd love for people not to have the problem that my book solves, right? Which would put me out of business. But like in a way, I want to be put out of business. Like if I see a problem and that's what I'm making my business around or I'm writing books about, ideally, I would like for people not to have that problem, even though it would mean no one's going to buy my books anymore, no one's going to need my business. But I think that's a better kind of mindset to have about it. Instead of, I hope people, like, I want people to keep having this problem so I can be paid to solve it. I think that's just not like a good long term. It just would lead to a life of paranoia. I think, will I still have a business tomorrow? Like, if I can still make people have this problem, it's like, no, we want people to not have this problem. We see a problem and we're going to try and solve it through the information that we can share, either through books, through video, through an app, through courses, through all these different things. Yeah, it's kind of an amazing time to be alive, to be able to publish, because you're publishing traditionally, right? Like you've got you're not self-publishing, right?
I am a mixed author. I have 2 of my books were traditionally published. One of them was self-published.
Is that your newest one? The Wise Confidence is self-published?
No, the newest one is traditionally published. So it was traditional,
Okay.
self, and traditional.
So do you have a preference at this point now that you've done multiple methods?
It's a lot of work to self-publish when you're aiming for high quality, but you do whatever you want. That's what I like. Like in publishing this book, Wise Confidence, I'm super happy with the end result, but there were some things that I had to compromise. I would have made the book maybe a little bit longer, maybe like 20 or 20 pages of material that I had to remove. I would have done a few things a little bit different, but all in all, I'm happy to have done it this way. So from this point onward, I don't have like a strong preference. If there's a topic that I want to write about, I would go to the publishers that I would love to be associated with. If they want to publish it, great. If not, I will self-publish.
It's nice to have that in your back pocket, to where you don't have to always be at their mercy of, like, if they say no, we don't want to publish that, like,
Right.
fine, I'll publish it myself, not a problem.
It's
all
easier
my
to
books have been
market.
self-published.
Right. It's easier to market a self-published book because you can do whatever you want. You can discount it whenever you want. You can give it for free as part of another bundle. You have full control. And working in these companies, no, they choose when it's coming out. They choose many of these elements.
I've talked to a lot of authors who have done traditional publishing first, whether they're kind of a celebrity, so they have a lot of clout, so it's easy to get their first traditionally published deal. And a lot of them are now saying if they could do it again, they would self-publish, because they would just maintain the control. They're connected enough that they can get somebody to make a great cover. They can find a great editor. Like, these aren't things that only big publishing companies have access to.
Right.
And then when they hear about what you can do with the control and the promotional options and the bundling and the discounting and just control over price and all these different things, they're like, that sounds really good. I wish I could have done some of those things with their book. So, everything's like a learning experience. Go from one book to the next. I picked up your audiobook. I'm looking forward to listening to it. It's like, 13 hours. So yeah, it's a bit of a book.
It's a long book. Yes, it's a long book. The self-discipline one. Yes, it takes discipline to finish it. It's the first test.
I mean, it sounds perfect. I watched a lot of your videos. I went through your website. I saw how you're collecting email addresses in order to access like a short video series, which leads into something else. So I mean, that's what I get very interested in as like an entrepreneur, using a book for business or to grow a business. It's like, use a book, content on YouTube, drive them back to the website, collect an email address, give them even more. And that's where, I'm guessing you study a little bit of like the law of reciprocity, where if you give, you're going to have customers and subscribers who are like, Giovanni, please let me buy something from you. And to me, like, the book is the easy thing. It's easy, like, people understand a book. It's like they're going to get a ton of value out of a book. It's a fairly low price point, and you're able to share so much information and so much content and establish almost like a real relationship with somebody. And the ones who want more, sure, no problem. I got a course. If you have trouble reading, I will read the chapter to you. But if that's what people need, like that, I've wanted to spend more time studying like the psychology of people and why we need more sometimes, why a book isn't enough sometimes, why watching a video why I have to hear it from Giovanni and not from some other person. Like, why is it listening to you say it more impactful than someone else? And just to understand that also for myself, to be like, to understand why humans are irrational sometimes.
Well, that's why the author should read the audiobook if possible, because there's a lot of nuance of understanding that passes through the voice. You know where to pause, you know what word to emphasize, you know how to use your tone of voice to transmit the spirit of the book, not just reading the book. And that's why and it's difficult. It's something I think every author should do that if they're really behind their words. But it's another skill set. One thing is to know how to write, and the other thing is to know how to speak what you write.
There are a lot of hidden skill sets. I mean, there's a book that almost should be written, the hidden skill set of, being a public figure or an author, or a lot of things people don't really think about. One thing I've tried to communicate to a lot of people is people can tell, like, I feel emotion can come through the camera. Like, it's certainly different being in a room with somebody, but I do think emotion can come through the screen, and because people can tell when you actually care about something, when you're actually interested in something, when it's a topic you would talk about at length for free because you just really enjoy it. And if you can put that into your book, like, people can tell if you're talking about your book and you really believe it and you really care about the stuff in it. And I think more people should be willing to put themselves out there. I do see a lot of authors who they write something and then hey, who do I hire to market this book for me? And I'm like, holy smokes, if you won't market your own book, I don't know who you're going to find who's going to care about your book more than you do. So I try to gently nudge them in the right direction of, like, you need to market your book.
Mm-hmm.
You actually care about this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you about the whys in the wise confidence. Where exactly did that come from?
It's there are two extremes. One extreme is self-doubt, and the other extreme is overconfidence. And there are many people who are living in they have self-doubt. They know that they want to be more confident. They want to believe in themselves more. But the way that they see this topic being covered in the other books and videos out there, they can't really connect because they are afraid of being overconfident, pretentious, cocky. And that is the model of confidence that we see a lot out there. So wise confidence, the main idea of the book is that there is a balanced, a healthy, a wise way of being confident. When you are in self-doubt, you are underestimating yourself. You don't know what you're capable of. You're defeating yourself before you even begin. When you are in overconfidence mode, you are arrogant. You are underestimating the challenges ahead of you. You think it's going to be easy. You think you don't need to prepare much, piece of cake. Now, in wise confidence, you're not underestimating yourself and you're not underestimating the challenges. You're actually not thinking about yourself much. I'm going to win or I'm going to lose. You're just focused on showing up as your best self with what I call the 5 elements of wise confidence: determination, integrity, self-belief, courage, and optimism. So if you learn how to cultivate these skills and you show up with these 5 elements, then you're showing up as your best self, and then you can expect the best possible results.
Yeah, I think that's a great. I was assuming that's where you were going with wise confidence, because confidence can be, like you were saying, kind of applied the wrong way, like overconfidence, or thinking you're better at something than you really are. So there is like a level of self-awareness that goes along with it. And I feel like tell me if this is what you're saying. A lot of these things are outside of your control, right? You show up as yourself. You might win, you might lose, but you're just bringing your true self to it. And the things that are outside of your control, you're not going to try to obsess over them or say, look, I have control over these things, when you really don't. And would you say that feels like you take the pressure off, like the results, like what happens is going to happen. And so if things don't go your way, it's not a direct reflection on you.
Well, it's definitely about understanding what you can control and what you cannot control, and focusing on what you can. Focus on doing the best on what you can control. And then you may eventually figure out that some things that you thought you could not influence at all, they start happening your way, but not initially. Like, you don't have that naive expectation that the path is going to be short and easy and sweet. You know that you may meet lots of challenges, that you will require that determination that we talked about. You will require some self-discipline and perseverance and patience. But at no point you stop and doubt yourself, thinking, if it hasn't happened so far, probably it's never going to happen. Probably I'm not good enough for this. Probably I'm not cut out for this. You don't have that self-talk.
I was going to ask, lost my train of thought on that. I'll get back to it. I'm guessing you've heard the term imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find that comes up a lot while you were writing this book, or when you're kind of working with people who are maybe have that self-doubt that is, it just doesn't make sense that it's there, like they don't see it? You can see them as an expert in something if they don't see it in themselves. Is that something that your book helps people get over, or kind of cross over?
Absolutely. So imposter syndrome is an expression of self-doubt. It's a form of self-doubt. And no one was born with imposter syndrome, right? We don't come into this world with imposter syndrome. It's something that we learn. It's something that we acquire from our environment, from the things that happen early on in our life, from the way people treat us, especially family, friends, primary carers, the way that they see us and talk to us and react to the things that we try and do. That little by little builds an identity of who am I, what is the world, and how do I navigate the world. We come to this world not knowing any of these things, and after some years we have a very solid opinion or identity around, this is who I am, the world is a dangerous place, and I better stay, kind of be very conservative. Well, if this is the way your identity was formed, then you will not experience self-confidence, and you will not experience peace of mind. You will experience anxiety. If you believe that the world is a dangerous place, you will not try anything that takes you beyond your comfort zone. So we were all conditioned in one way or another, and some people were exposed to healthier conditioning than others. But we are all inside the box of our conditioning. And the opportunity is at a certain point in your life, you realize that you're doing personal growth, you're developing your awareness, and you realize like, oh, this is actually just the box. It's not who I am, it's who I was conditioned to be. And at that point, then you can dare to dismantle that box and to reinvent yourself. And in the book, this is what I call going from your conditioned identity to your aspirational identity, to the person you want to be. And in your conditioned identity, maybe self-doubt or imposter syndrome is just a big part of the package. And as long as you are thinking from that point of view, you can't get rid of it. And then that pushes you to try really hard to get one credential after another, to seek success, to go in and accumulate status symbols, all in the hope that you feel okay within your own skin. But until you have done that deep transformational work of your identity, shifting your self-image at the core, you're not going to change. You're always going to be inside the same box. You may paint that box, you may decorate that box, you may perhaps peek outside from time to time, but you're still going to be inside that box.
Would you relate, or would you say that's almost like a form of enlightenment? I know sometimes the term enlightenment doesn't have like an easy definition, but it's almost like, wait a minute, I didn't realize that my identity was formed by these things in my past that I wasn't necessarily even aware of, and I wasn't aware that I have even the choice or ability to change. And just that moment in itself, whether someone calls it enlightenment or not, is like this pivotal moment to be like, I know I have the ability to change. I still have to go through the work of doing it, but just knowing it, like how big of a piece would you say just knowing that you can change is in the entire process of change?
That's the first step without which nothing else can happen. I would call this it's an aha moment. You have an insight, a realization. And realization is a little bit stronger than understanding. Understanding is like, okay, yeah, I get it. But realization is like, oh, I see it. I cannot unsee it. And I see it, and now I'm going to make different choices in my life. I'm starting a path of seeing what's possible for me, because what I thought was me, it turns out is just an opinion. It's just a thought. It's not a truth. And so if it's a thought that I have learned to believe in, I can unbelieve it. I can remove it. I can think, I can have a different view of myself and what I'm capable of.
You find that or the people you work with find that it's hard to let go of some of those things, especially if they come from early childhood, if they've been reinforced over so many years, if they identify so closely with something, oh, I'm such a screw up, or I always do that, or like those, like even having that realization. And I speak like from personal experience where I got some things where I'm trying to, like, for Pete's sake, stop thinking some of these things. They're still there. Like I can still acknowledge that they're in my past, even if I don't want them there, even if I actively disagree with some of these things. It's like you almost like keep them there. It's like, okay, I get it. You can still hang out with me, but I don't want to believe you anymore. The people still really struggle with that part.
Yes, when you're shifting identities, it's normal to experience fear of the unknown, because your identity, your self-image, even if it's causing you suffering, even if it's limiting you and preventing you from living your aspirations in life, it still feels like me, right? And it's scary to let go of that, because when you let go of that, even though you're moving towards the new me, you're moving towards the new feeling of what is like to who you can be. In the meantime, you will be in the unknown. There will be that limbo state of the unknown, that the old one is going, but the new one hasn't come yet. And you will definitely face fear in this journey. And then what do you do? How do you equip yourself to face this fear? Well, you need either one of three things that I talk about in the book. You need faith, or you need courage, or you need unbearable pain. So faith could be, I believe that there's something better at the end of this process. And so I'm going to withstand the uncertainty of this process, however painful that may be, because there's something better on the other side. That's faith. You're trusting the process. Or you have courage. Courage is your willingness to experience fear. It's like, okay, yes, I am afraid, but no, I'm not going to stop. I will continue moving forward. You're practicing courage. Or the third option to face this fear is unbearable pain. When being in your conditioned identity is so painful that you can't be there for another day, then I don't care what I have to face to transform. I'm ready, because this is not an option.
Did you almost say that last one is like a shortcut? It's almost like with trauma involved, trauma will force you to change if it's that painful.
It has the effect of being a shortcut. It's not something that you can engineer or get to consciously. Most likely not. But if it's that painful for you to not change, then you will change very quickly.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you said that this is not something you can engineer, because I talked to a lot of people who try to find shortcuts and like, how can I do all this? And like, the shortcut to major change is trauma, right? Go bankrupt, get divorced, something like that. That will change your life, like a death in the family. That will force you to change very quickly. However, that's not a great plan to manufacture artificial negative trauma in order to change something. And the only other option is it takes time, it takes work, and it takes dedication, and it takes commitment, and all these different things. So that the two options are there. But I have found that people respond well to that, realizing, wait a minute, it is possible, because I can see it when people experience some kind of trauma. I don't want to go through the trauma, so I have to do phase 2, which is do the work. It's going to take a lot of time.
Well, for many people, it's already there. They are just not in touch with it. Maybe there is, maybe we don't need to use the word trauma, but maybe there is a deep pain inside of you that could be the fuel of a lot of motivation and focus and achievement in your life, but you are not tapping into it. You are afraid to look. You don't know how to channel that into something positive. Or maybe you're just distracting yourself away from it.
Yeah, with being 2024, with cell phones and social media, it's real easy to find a distraction.
Yes.
If you don't want to face something, like, let me just go open up YouTube videos and I won't have to deal with any of this problem. So we mentioned imposter syndrome briefly. Would you ever say that it's good to have imposter syndrome? It's not a trick question. I would say that it is good. I don't want to put you on the spot.
I wouldn't wish it on anyone, I would say. So, imposter syndrome will make you try hard in your life, right? So externally, it can help you achieve many things, but it won't make you happy.
I would agree with that. It's definitely not a source of happiness. The way that I phrase it, 'cause I talk with a lot of authors who are trying to publish their first book, and they have self-doubt. They don't think they're good enough, and all these things. Uh, and then when they see the definition of imposter syndrome, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm really suffering from imposter syndrome." And that whole phrase just kills me each time, because I don't think people should be using the word suffering, because it makes it feel like they're painful. It's like a disease or something. And then imposter just has a negative connotation. And again, syndrome is like it's having this effect on you. It's like you're sick. When someone could say, "Hey, I'm experiencing a little bit of self-doubt around this," and what I frequently tell people is I say it's good that you have imposter syndrome, because the opposite is worse. The opposite is having no imposter syndrome and being overly confident and going down the road of Dunning-Kruger effect, where you can get yourself in a little bit of trouble thinking like, "Oh, I know everything about this. I've studied this for 3 days." It's like, well, no, you might think you do, but you don't realize what you don't know. So it's a little bit of false confidence. And the two things that stand out to me when people have imposter syndrome is it means that they care, right? Because if they're going to put out a book, they're like, well, I want to make sure that it's good. I want to make sure that everything's accurate. I want to make sure that people benefit from this, and that's what they are associating with the definition of imposter syndrome. So I say, look, it's good that you care, right? That's a good thing that you actually care about this. And the other is they're aware of what there's still things they don't know. Like if you don't have imposter syndrome, then you're probably not aware of all of the other things around your topic that you don't even know you don't know. So having imposter syndrome means you're at least aware of like, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't say that I do. I'm not making a claim about this level of expertise, but I am making a claim about something I do know about. And kind of once they have those two things, they're like, okay, I understand. I can accept my imposter syndrome and realize that actual imposters, don't get imposter syndrome. So it can be a little scary to not at least acknowledge some of those feelings that are associated with the definition of imposter syndrome. And it kind of helps people get out of their own way. So I'd love to rename it something that just doesn't have such a negative connotation to it. I haven't found the right words for it yet. I'll get there eventually.
Well, wise confidence is the balance between self-doubt, which is a form of imposter syndrome, and overconfidence. And it's the balance. You believe in yourself, but you also have humility. Like there's a lot I don't know. I'm not the best author in this field in the world, right? But I trust that I have something to say. I know that I have something to say, something to share, something that will be beneficial. And so if you just stay in imposter syndrome, then you're not going to take action because you don't want to be fake. Like you're not going to take action. Or if you do, you're forcing yourself to take action just to prove to yourself that, okay, I've tried. It didn't work, but I've tried. But deep down, you don't want it to work because you think you're an imposter.
I've seen that a lot. I have seen that a lot, yeah, the way you describe it. I almost think that I should be recommending your book on top of the content that I'm putting out there about helping people get published and self-publishing and all this, but also with a little bit of wise confidence, not the wrong type of confidence, like the good, like self-reflection, true understanding confidence. But I guess the piece that I'm trying to get them to is to have that confidence at all, where if they don't, like they have it in them, but they don't realize that they have it in them. Whether it's because they're afraid to put themselves out there, what's going to happen, or is it like childhood identity, or they told their family they're going to write a book, and two people started laughing, like you can never write a book. Like author status, I feel still really carries a lot of weight in society today, even though it's very easy to self-publish and anybody can do it. When you tell somebody you're a published author, I feel they, in today's age, they still look at you a little different. Like, oh, really? Wow. Okay. Interesting. Like you get a little bit of an elevated status by
Right.
being a published author, which is one of my favorite things about being an authorpreneur is helping people use author status and use books for their business, whether it's lead generation or establishing authority or getting more stage speaking gigs or all these different things. Having a book is incredibly powerful. That's a place I'd like to get a little bit more of your feedback on, like how has being a published author and how has having a book like really affected your business or elevated or even fast tracked some growth in your business?
Well, the first book that I wrote, Practical Meditation, back in 20 published. No, I noticed that having published a book made me feel different about what I do and what I offer, and it seemed to affect the way other people feel about me too. Like a little bit of like, oh, he's a published author type of thing. Once when I was having a discovery call with a musician who later became a coaching client, I asked, like, why did you choose me? And said, well, you have published a book about meditation. You're not just someone out there talking about it. Then I said, like, oh, okay, the book effect. And I've seen like this in many other instances of this effect.
Oh, I love that, and I'm honestly gonna take that as a clip out of here and put it on Instagram. Be like, guys, this, like, for better or for worse, this is the way that it is, where it's part of like the human psychology of like, you see somebody as a published author, they're like elevated status. I want to work with this guy. Now, of course, your books have to actually be good, right? So for anybody out there thinking they're just going to have AI write a book,
right?
I always go back to that and preface it. It has to actually be good.
Right. There are no shortage of books out there. So just putting another book is not going to do much for you. But if it's a book that has a heart, that has real wisdom in your area of expertise, whatever that is, things that cannot be imitated. Think of your Amazon author page as your business card. What will people think when they see it? Will they see a book with 3 reviews? Or will they see a book with 100 reviews? That makes a big difference on how they perceive an author.
Sure. I recommend to a lot of authors to embrace their 1-star reviews, because I know a lot of people get upset. They're like, oh, I can't believe I don't have all 5 stars. Like, it's good. It's similar to like imposter syndrome. It's good to have 1-star reviews, because if all your reviews are 5 stars, no one's going to believe you, right? Because no one's that perfect. No one has 1,000 5-star reviews and nothing else. Customers want to know that, hey, this book wasn't for somebody, and it's not going to, they look at the overall reviews, the percentage of reviews, the percentage that are 4 and 5-star reviews. But yeah, don't worry about the 1-star review. Do you ever go back and read your 1-star reviews, or did that not even?
I read every new review that comes. Every new review that comes. Sometimes the reviews that are not so happy, they say something like, okay, this person has a point. But sometimes it's just obviously like, the book is not for you. Like, I don't know how this book got in your hands, but you're not the intended audience for this book. I mean, if you read the book and you say like, this book is not good because almost all quotes are from men and there are not enough quotes from women. I said, I'm not looking at the gender of the person when I'm quoting them. If there's wisdom, I quote, for example. So this book is not for you if you think like this. Or, if you, so sometimes you read the review and like, oh, this person is not the intended audience for this book. And when your book is small, it's only going to go to people who are the intended audience. But as you grow, more and more people who are not the intended audience, they're also going to get the book, and they are not going to get it. And they're the ones that are going to put low reviews. Now, if your book has some real flaws, then some low reviews will be also of your intended audience. And that will be a feedback for you to grow as an author.
The real feedback ones, I certainly don't mind. The most common 1-star review that I get is that my books could be edited better, because I don't hire a professional editor. I edit all my own books myself. So there's definitely going to be some cases of it's a little repetitive in places, or I could have said that in fewer words. So I don't mind those reviews. One of the reviews that amuses me is when people say, I didn't learn anything new in this book. It's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Like,
either you're an expert
or it just wasn't fair. Like, the wrong intended audience. Like, if I write a book for beginners and someone advanced buys the book, it's like, well, you're not going to learn anything new in here. But to take it out as a 1-star review just seems like a little much. But I don't worry about it too much. I like that you pay a lot of attention to your Amazon author page. I think more people should be using their author page strategically. I still run across a lot of authors who never even set theirs up. So it's an easy thing. I always recommend them, like, please just go set up your Amazon author page. It's free. Like, it kills me when they have such great books and they don't set up their author page. So yeah, I like that you've set yours up. You really do. I feel you've like created this kind of, I say perfect business, maybe that's not the right words for it, where you're able to combine books and courses and coaching and content, from a place of, look, I just want to help people. Look, if you can get everything you need from my books and my videos, please, you don't need me. And here's a question that I know you didn't think I was going to ask. Is there anything in your coaching that is not in your books and videos?
Good question. In the book Mindfulness of Discipline, in total, I may cover like 50 different techniques, right? To do different things such as overcome procrastination, excuses, fear of failure, distractions, etc. Now, in any coaching package that I have run so far, I get through maybe a fifth So actually the book has more than the coaching in terms of number of different concepts and techniques. Like the book has everything, and the coaching is like, okay, let's have a look at the segment that you need to focus on. Let's make sure that you know how to implement this. Let's do this together. Let's keep you accountable. So in a sense, the coaching is a subset of the book, hyper-focused and assisted. But in another sense, as an author, as someone who is always thinking about these topics, practicing it in my own life, and continuously developing my framework, there are many things that have improved since I've written the book. Even the book that I wrote a year ago, my thinking around certain things has already refined further, right? And so that people will get through the coaching, and it's not there in the book yet, that further improvement.
Would you say that like the coaching helps you curate the content specifically for the individual? So the individual feels overwhelmed by like there's 50 different things in here. Well, hey, let's just chat for 30 minutes and I'll be able to identify the 3 things that you should, be focusing on. And that's what people, for someone who can't do that themselves, that can be the purpose of a coaching program, to help people curate the massive amounts of information, whether it's just the information in your book or just Googling, meditation.
That's one aspect. One aspect is focusing and giving them what they need and just what they need. But the other thing, you cannot talk to the book and say like, hey, I'm trying to apply this technique. I'm running into this problem. What do I do? Yes, there are chatpdf.com and services like this that you can maybe put a book and ask questions, and it will give you answers. And I've tried that. And with my own book, I said like, okay, I'm kind of impressed a little bit, but no, that's not going to be that helpful. Not with
close.
Right. It's impressive, but it's not yet. My job as a coach is safe for some years. So people being able to say like, this is how I'm practicing the technique. Is this correct? Or why is this not working? Oh, it's because of this, and other thing. Like, it's impossible to cover everything in the book, even if you try. In the book is 400 pages. It's still not possible.
Everybody's different, right? And everybody has their own baggage, their own background, their own sense of identity. So to write a book for everybody is going to be impossible. Either the book's going to be way too long, or it's just not possible because there's just so many variables. But when you have experience and you've actually talked to people and coached people for so long, I imagine like a lot of problems, like they reveal themselves pretty quick. When you talk to somebody, be like, oh yeah, I know what you need.
Right.
I've seen this before. Not a problem.
If
and
I
you'll
write
give them
the best,
answer and
right. If I write the best book in the world about public speaking, still people will need public speaking coaching because the book can't hear you speak. The book can't provide you feedback. And it's the same thing in my books that are more in the personal growth, self-help space. Like the book can't hear your mindset, can't hear you speaking, can't identify. Even a beginner coach that knows the book won't be able to do that because they don't know, they can't identify and pinpoint exactly what's going on, see the flaw in the thinking, and then switch that.
So outside of your book, well, let me ask you this way. Do you have, even though your book is coming out, it's not out yet, it's on pre-order right now on Amazon, do you already have plans for another book, or are you going to take a little break?
Well, a bit of both, but I have several other books in me. The next one's probably going to be around focus. Maybe end of this year I'll begin writing.
So the other books you want to write, they're still in the same category, same niche?
Yes.
Nothing completely left field or anything? The power of self-publishing, I found, for me and a lot of people I've spoken with, people get really excited about, I want to write about a book about this and this, and then they make this list of all these things that they want to write books about, and I kind of tell them, write that all down and put it away and focus on the one thing that you actually want to publish, because if you try to write 5 books at one time, it's not going to be a great plan. Earlier, one of the first things that you said was writing is what you just love to do. If you could only do one thing, just have your books. Do you see getting to a place like that, or do you see being able to automate things with multimedia and content and videos and courses and books to where you can just write and be hands off, or do you think there will always be the one-on-one coaching that you do?
No, little by little I'm getting there. I'll probably always do a little bit of coaching, but then maybe instead of working with 10, 15 clients, I'll work with 3 and then be really picky about who I want to work with. But yes, that's the idea. I've been having this focus and this intention since the beginning of my business to spend most of my time being in my element, doing what I like to do.
It's hard for people to get there. I think a lot of they say it in the U.S. like part of like the American dream is like find something you love to do, and then you'll never work a day in your life. And I've never really agreed with that in principle, because you can find something that you really like to do, but if you're not getting paid for it, you're probably not going to keep doing it forever. Depending on what it is. I use the example of teachers, right? People say they love to teach, they want to be a teacher. You can go be a teacher, but if you're not getting paid, you're probably not going to keep going and giving them your time and your effort and all of these different things. But there are other things where you're like, man, I love talking about meditation and helping people overcome their problems. I would almost do this for free, to where you're able to build that business, using books and the internet, and you're able to be anywhere in the world that you want to at any time. It's a little bit different than like finding something that you love. It's like, no, I do this. This isn't even a job. Like I like doing this, and that's where you can really settle in and be like, I found the perfect thing. And then self-publishing I feel allows people to fast track a lot of that. I do think self-publishing is a bit of not really a secret weapon, but like is a very powerful tool that people are underestimating to help them launch a business, to establish authority. Again, you have to write something that's actually good. But then get over imposter syndrome and understand how easy self-publishing is. And then they get published, and like it's almost like the light goes off, like the aha moment you mentioned. Like, are you serious? I'm a published author? Because they think it's hard. They think you need an editor, and you think you need all these other things. And it's a very common thing over and over and over again. I tell people, by the time we publish, you're going to look at me and say, Chris, that was as easy as you said it was. And once they finally publish, they're like, Chris, that was as easy as you said it was. But until they do it, their brain is stuck in their old mode of publishing a book is hard. It's reserved for experts only. I can't afford to do that. And it's fun to see them make that transformation. And maybe that what I'm feeling with that is similar when you see people make transformations in their life, where it's like very rewarding. Well, for people who want to know more, and people that want to place a pre-order for your book, is there a best way to do that other than just going to Amazon? Or
you can pre-order on Amazon. There are many other places you can pre-order. If you go to wiseconfidencebook.com, that will redirect you to a page on my site where it shows all the pre-order options. But wherever you find books, you'll likely find this book too, and there will be a pre-order option. And I wanted to make an offer to the members, to the listeners of your podcast, that if they pre-order the book, when is this going live?
I can make you the first episode if you like, and go live.
So when is that? Because the book launches on March 12th.
Oh, so let me launch this on, let's say Monday. Next Monday it'll go live.
Okay. So
it'll be close.
If you buy that's fine. So my offer for your audience is, if you buy the book and you send an email with the receipt of the book and saying that you came through Chris Green podcast, I will give you access to a free workshop.
That's a good deal. Something you can only offer as a published author. So for people listening, there will be like book marketers listening to this. Like, how can I use my book for marketing? And this is a great example. Like, one, absolutely take advantage of getting the free workshop by pre-ordering the book, but also pay attention and be like, oh, wait a minute. If I have my own book, I see that I could offer a pre-order, and anybody that pre-orders, I can give them some kind of additional bonus, and I can collect emails. Like, okay, this makes sense. I can grow my business with my book. Because it's one thing to have the book, but then it's a whole second level, how to use your book strategically for your business, to serve the most people, to get it in the most people's hands. Book marketing is like my favorite thing, and it's very underrepresented. So it makes for a fun topic to talk with authors about. Have you been running Kindle promotions on your book? Kindle price promotions?
I have, but I'm not really in the analytics, so I can't tell you how well they're performing.
Well, your new one you said is
terrible book marketing.
That's all right. I don't always look at the metrics, but there are a lot of kind of extra benefits that you can get by running a promo, becoming bestseller in a category, screen capping it, using that in promotional ads. So it was mindful self-discipline. That one was self-published?
Yes. I run Amazon ads. That one I do. No, it's not thousands of dollars of ads every month, but I have an ACOS target that I'm trying to reach, and as long as it's within that target, then it's profitable, and I put money in.
As long as it's not costing you money, basically.
Right. As long as it's making
But,
money and not just getting exposure in the hopes that, whatever.
oh, of course. One of the secrets that I talk to people about is I always recommend they write their book in a way that they will get benefit from it, even if they give their book away. Because especially like Kindle books or digital PDF downloads, like those can be free to give away. So I always suggest people make sure that they have clear call to actions to follow you on social media, to join your email list, to get some kind of bonus, to join your community, like some kind of thing where you benefit by giving your book away, especially the digital, because then you can always come back and say, hey, now they have your email address. I'd love to offer you a special deal on the physical. You buy this on Amazon and send me the receipt, and I'll give you access to a workshop, different things like that. And you're able to kind of get them in the door with like the marketing value ladder of free to $10, $100 and on up. So it's mindful self-discipline. That's your self-published book. That was through
Yes.
KDP.
Yes.
So yeah, there are some cool things that you can do with that. And I don't want to go down all that road if you don't want to go down a marketing road. But there are some cool things you could do as a self-published author by making your book free, by discounting your book. You can actually buy. One of my favorite ways is, one, you can make it free, just tell people to download it. But if you make it 99 cents, either as like a Kindle countdown deal or just change the price temporarily, you can then buy copies of your own book. Did you know that?
In Kindle?
Yeah.
Like the
So you
ebook?
can buy, right. So say if you had a large organization or a classroom and you want to buy them all a copy, you go in and say, Amazon, buy 30 copies of this, send it to these 30 people, and just put in 30 email addresses, and Amazon's going to do all the work. Or you can say, actually, give me 30 individual unique Kindle redemption links that I will then distribute to my people. So as the author, if you have it at regular price, you're going to get your royalty back, but you're going to pay more money. But if you drop it to 99 cents, which is the lowest you can go and do this, you can then buy 100 copies or 1,000 copies. And now you have 1,000 individual redemption links for your book, which now goes back up to, what is the Kindle
Does that
price?
count for the sales for ranking purposes?
I believe it counts as a sale when they redeem it.
Right.
So you
you'd have to, right. It doesn't count as 1,000 sales in the first day.
No. However, if you have a bit of an email list, you could drop it to 99 cents and just put in all those email addresses, and then Amazon's going to send out email right away. Or with a delay, you can say, don't send it now, send it in 30 days or whatever it is. And then I believe that would really accelerate the sales rank as they get that email that day, and so many people start cashing them in. So you can do it both ways. But if you have those individual redemption links, to me, what I recommend people do is say, hey, join my email list and I will give you my Kindle book, because your Kindle book right now is $7.97. I think it's always been $7.97. Statistics. There's all kinds of data behind the scenes, right, where you can see some of this stuff. But now they're getting an $8 gift to join your email list, which only cost you 99 cents. And if they don't redeem it, you'll see if they don't redeem it, so you can give it to somebody else. Within 60 days, you can return it and get your money back. So there's no waste in doing this. So yeah, there's some fun things you can do.
That's pretty cool.
With the
I
Kindle.
Didn't know that. I'm actually try this.
You could bundle it on top of, hey, place your pre-order, or even just, hey, place a regular order and say, look, I will give you the Kindle version of the other one, and then you can offer them some other bonus. That, to me, this is one of the favorite reasons to self-publish, because if it's with a publisher, they're not going to give you this level of control where they're going to let you go in and up price and down price. I mean, maybe they will. I haven't traditionally published. I've only self-published. But when you self-publish in your KDP account, there's so many cool things that you can do. The other one is, we have to end on this in a couple minutes. Something that really got Nick's attention when I told him, because I said an Amazon package has a 100% open rate. He's like, yeah, that's true. If you get an Amazon package, you're going to open it. Well, you can ship your book to somebody through KDP for the lowest possible cost. I'm assuming you've ordered author copies of your book.
Mm-hmm.
So you can order one copy. They'll charge you $3.59 in like 8 different countries. It's all similarly priced. So for under $10, you can get your book at somebody's door. And people aren't really thinking about that. And you can actually lower your price of your book to $5. How many pages is your book? You might be able to drop it that low.
400.
So your cost might be a little more than that. But you could lower it to zero royalty. And then if you just have somebody's email or phone number, you can send them a copy of your book. So you just put in there, hey, bought you a copy of my book, phone number. Amazon will send them the message, and then that will ship with
Yeah, but you need
Amazon
their
Prime
address now.
benefits.
You need their
No,
address now.
no, because Amazon will then text them and saying, hey, Giovanni bought you a copy of this book. Click here to redeem. They put their address in, and then Amazon ships them the book, and they just charge you the price of the book, which, again, if you lower the price, then you'll pay even less. So it's a great way to gift your book without, hey, I need your address, and like going in and changing address and selecting payment method. Like, it's not that it's hard, but it's not
Yeah.
very efficient.
Yes.
An email or
That's
phone number is
that's
all
what
you
I
need.
did. I didn't know.
I've done that over 2,000 times on one of my books that we use. So we fulfill
Right.
from author copies. I actually had a program written to automatically take 20 addresses and just spin there and edit all of the addresses to place one big order, because you could imagine changing 20 individual addresses at a time. No, so there's some really cool things. So yeah, I would definitely recommend, if thinking of ways to promote, in the last couple of weeks of your new book coming out, how can you give them mindful self-discipline at like basically for free to incentivize them to buy the new book,
I see.
and kind of get your sales rank up as high as possible, especially for the launch. To say, look, #1 new release, #1 bestseller, top of the sales charts over all the other books in your category. Yeah, if that's something, I mean, I'm happy to give more advice on that. You can probably tell I like talking about this stuff. So yeah, we can chat more about that if you want.
Cool.
But
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on the Authorpreneur podcast. The best place to find you is where?
mindfulselfdiscipline.com. That's my main website.
Great domain. I'm so glad you have that domain. If someone else had that, I would be disappointed. mindfulselfdiscipline.com. See, I've got your book on audiobook. I'll be excited to start listening to it. And yeah, I'll let you know when this goes live. And I hope that we send you a lot of pre-orders. I hope people take advantage of your free workshop, and you have to give out a ton of them for pre-orders for your new book.
My Filipino VA is going to be really busy.
That's good. That's a good problem to have. We'll keep them busy.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
Giovanni. We will chat again soon.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Authorpreneur Podcast. If you'd like more information about this episode's guest, you can find links to their books, websites, and social media profiles in the show notes and video description. If you're an author or business owner who's interested in learning more about how you can use books in published author status to market and grow your business or personal brand, or if you're an aspiring author looking for more information about the publishing process, you can find more information and request an author audit at authorpreneur.com. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, or if you'd like to recommend someone, please reach out via email to chris@authorpreneur.com. Remember, a book is just a book, but when it's your book, it's an asset. #Authorpreneur.